The black sedan followed me home for 3 nights before I stopped telling myself it was just traffic or bad timing or some dumb coincidence I didn't understand that night. I worked late shifts at a warehouse in Atlanta. It was simple work, boxes, tape, long hours, and loud machines that never really stopped. By the time I left, the roads were almost empty. Streetlights flickered in some areas, and whole blocks felt dead. I always took the same route home, past gas stations, closed stores, and dark intersections where the lights barely worked. I kept a cold coffee in my cup holder just to stay awake. The first night I noticed the sedan. It was just sitting behind me in my mirror. Black, clean, nothing special. At first I didn't care. Cars follow each other all the time. But after a while I realized it had been there too long. When I slowed down, it slowed. When I changed lanes, it followed. I turned early just to check. It turned too. I said out loud, "All right, that's weird." I didn't want to go straight home, so I pulled into a gas station with a Waffle House across the road. Bright lights, a few people around, normal place. The sedan pulled in too, but stopped far away near the edge of the lot. The headlights stayed on. No one got out. I went inside and bought water I didn't need. The clerk looked half asleep. I asked him to come look outside with me. He walked over slow like he didn't care much. We both looked. The car was gone. He said, "Maybe I got the wrong car." I told him no, but he just shrugged and went back. I sat in my car for a minute before leaving. Nothing followed me that night. The next night I saw the same sedan parked across from my apartment. My building was old and kind of noisy. The hallway always smelled weird, like old food and cleaning stuff mixed together. There was a loose tile on the stairs that clicked when you stepped on it. My neighbor's TV was always loud at night. I looked out my window around midnight and saw the car sitting under a broken streetlight. No lights, no movement. On the windshield, someone had written one word in the dust. Home. I stared at it for a long time. I tried to think of a normal reason. Maybe someone else wrote it. Maybe it wasn't even the same car. I kept making excuses because that felt easier. After that, I started seeing the sedan in different places around the city, near a store, near my job, parked across streets I passed every day. It was never too close, always just far enough away that I couldn't be sure. I told my sister once. She laughed and said I was overthinking. I laughed too, but it didn't feel right. Then I started checking my car more. I looked in the back seat before getting in. I checked under the seat sometimes. I made sure to lock the doors right away. It felt stupid, but I kept doing it. One morning, I noticed the passenger mat was moved a little. I told myself I probably kicked it. Later that same day, I found a key taped under my front bumper. I didn't even notice it at first. I was checking my tire and saw something shiny. It was an old key, stuck there with clear tape. I just stood there staring at it. Then I hit my head on the car hood when I stood up too fast and said, "Shit," louder than I meant to. I took the key inside and left it on my table. My apartment was quiet except for my fridge buzzing and my cat running around the hallway making the floor creak. I kept thinking about how someone had to be close to my car to tape that there. That night I couldn't sleep. Around 3 a.m, I heard a soft click outside, like a car unlocking, then another. I went to the window. The sedan was back. The driver door was open. No one was there. The inside light was on, showing an empty seat. The word home was still on the windshield. Under it, there was another word, wait. I stepped back and called the police. My voice sounded too calm, which felt wrong. When they came, the car was gone again. They asked me questions, walked around, checked things. Nothing. They told me to lock my doors and be careful. For about a week, nothing happened. I almost started to relax again. Then one night after work, I got into my car and saw my glove box open. I knew I had closed it. Inside, there was a folded note. It said, "You forgot this." I got rid of the car a few days later, sold it cheap just to be done with it. I stayed with my sister for a while after that. I didn't tell her everything. Even now, I notice black sedans everywhere. Every time I unlock my car, I pause for a second, just to listen, because sometimes I still think I hear another door unlocking right after mine. The package looked normal at first, but once I opened it, I realized someone had been watching me for days, maybe longer, and I had no idea how close they really were. My name is Darius Vale, and this happened when I lived in a small basement apartment in Atlanta, Georgia. It was near a busy road, so even at night I could hear cars passing, and sometimes loud music from people driving by. I lived alone with my cat, Miso. He liked to run across the floor at night, and the boards would creak every time he did. I worked at a tire shop, so I came home tired most days, smelling like rubber and oil. One evening, I came home and saw a box sitting outside my door. Brown, taped up, nothing special. I almost ignored it because people in my building got packages all the time. But when I picked it up, I noticed the name on the label wasn't mine. The address was correct, though. That made me pause. I should have left it outside, but I didn't. Inside the box was a cheap digital camera, some cables, and a stack of printed photos. The camera looked old and scratched. I didn't even bother turning it on. The cables didn't match anything I owned. Then I picked up the photos. They were all pictures of my apartment. Some were taken from across the street, some from the sidewalk, different times of day, morning, evening, even late at night. At first I thought maybe it was a mistake, like someone had the wrong place. But then I saw details that made no sense. One photo showed my bedroom curtain slightly open, even though I always closed it. Another showed my laptop on the table, but I remembered putting it away that day. One picture even showed my cat sitting in the window. I just sat there on the floor holding them, not really knowing what to do. Under the photos, there was a receipt from a small store in Atlanta. I had never been to that store, but the items listed were things I knew I had bought a few days before. A Gatorade, gum, and a lighter. That made no sense at all. On the back of the receipt, there was a note written in blue ink. It looked like my handwriting. It said, "You saw me at the register." I read that line a few times. I even tried to laugh it off, like maybe someone was playing a joke, but it didn't feel like a joke. I called my sister Althea and told her something weird was going on. She came over later that night. We went through everything again together. She kept saying, "This is not normal," over and over. I kept trying to come up with simple reasons. Maybe someone mixed up addresses. Maybe someone copied my writing. None of it really made sense. The next day, I started checking my apartment more carefully. I looked behind furniture, checked the windows, even opened the vents. It felt stupid, but I couldn't stop. That night, I bought a small signal detector from a store and started scanning around my room. When I held it near the smoke detector above my bed, it reacted. I grabbed a chair and climbed up. When I opened the cover, I saw a tiny camera hidden inside. It was so small I almost missed it. It was already on. That's when everything stopped feeling like a mistake. The signal from the camera led to another unit in the building. It was supposed to be empty. I knew that because no one had lived there for months. I went there with my sister and the building manager, a guy named Soren. He unlocked the door for us. Inside there was a folding chair, a laptop, and a wall covered in printed photos. All of them were of me. Different days, different times. Me leaving for work, me coming home, me carrying groceries. It felt like someone had been tracking everything I did. On a small table there was a cup of coffee. I touched it. It was still warm. I stepped back right away. I didn't even think. I just called the police. When they arrived, the room was empty. No chair, no laptop, no photos. Just one thing left on the table, my spare key, the one I kept hidden in my apartment. I checked later. It was still there, so someone had made a copy. I didn't stay there after that. I moved out within days and stayed with my sister for a while. The police never found anything. They said it could have been someone in the building, but they had no proof. I still think about that camera sometimes, and that note. The part that bothers me the most is not knowing how long it was there, or how many times I was being watched without noticing. Even now, I still check the ceiling sometimes before going to sleep, just in case. The key was taped under my grocery bag, and I knew right then somebody had been in my life, close enough to touch my things without me seeing them before. My name is Corvin Lasco, and this happened in Atlanta, Georgia, after a breakup left me renting a small storage unit behind a shopping center. It had lights, a keypad gate, and a fence that looked safe until you stood next to it. I kept old furniture there, winter clothes, and boxes I never opened. Some nights I stopped by to grab something and leave. The place always felt quiet. The first strange thing was a box of papers I had left at the back. It was sitting near the front when I returned. I thought maybe I moved it and forgot. Then I looked at the dust on the floor. There were footprints in it, but they went deeper inside. None came back out. That made me stand still for a bit longer than I should have. I told myself maybe a worker came in by mistake. Maybe they were checking units. But then I saw my lock still on the outside of the door. It was shut. It had not been cut. I just stared at it and tried to think of a normal reason. I could not. A few nights later, I came back after midnight. I'd been out near Midtown and decided to stop at the unit on the way home. The door was open maybe an inch. I know I locked it earlier that day. I even pulled it twice before I left. Inside, my stuff was arranged in a narrow path, like somebody wanted room to walk through. A chair was on its side. Suitcase was pulled out. It was not messy. That was the part I did not like. It looked planned. At the back of the unit, behind the chair and two old suitcases, I found a phone on the floor. It was plugged into an extension cord that was not mine. The screen was dark at first. When I touched it, the screen lit up. A live camera view opened right away. It showed my apartment door. Not from outside, from inside the hallway. I stood there. I remember saying, "What the hell?" under my breath. Then a message came up on the screen. It said, "You left the other key in the mailbox." I felt stupid right away, because I really did leave a spare key in my mailbox once after a long day. I forgot about it, then forgot that I forgot. That one thing suddenly felt huge. I backed out and called 911 with hands. My voice sounded flat, like I was reading something. I told them someone was watching me and that the phone in the unit showed my apartment. They sent officers, but by the time they got there, the phone was dead and the cord was gone. The unit looked almost normal again, except for the chair and the open box near the door. The police checked the office, the gate log, and the camera. Nothing useful came from any of it. They said maybe it was a worker, maybe another renter, maybe somebody who had copied a key. Nobody had a real answer. One officer told me to change my locks and empty the mailbox. He said it in a tired voice, like he had said it before. I moved the next week. I changed the locks and stopped using that mailbox. For a while, I thought that was the end. Then one evening, in my new place on the west side of Atlanta, I found a small key taped under the grocery bag I had just brought in. I stood in my kitchen for a long minute just holding it and looking at it. I never found out where it came from.